The whole Deandre Harris thing out of Charlottesville. First of all, remind us who he is and why this is a big issue, and then tell us about these latest developments that are just so bizarre and horrid.
Yes, Deandre Harris is an African-American school teacher in his 20s in Charlottesville, Virginia. He was, counter-demonstrating against the neo-Nazis last month, and he was attacked. He was attacked by, in fact, we now have the names of the people. The two of them have been arrested. Dan Borden, a white supremacist. He attacked Deandre Harris with a 4-foot hunk of lumber. And then another guy named Michael Ramos is charged with beating Deandre Harris with brass knuckles. Another third gentleman, if you could call him that, the white supremacist, while he was on the ground, was hitting him with a metal rod, and they've just identified him. And there was also, by the way, but there's been no attempt by the FBI to find him, is a guy who pulled out a 9mm Glock. By the way, we only know about this because Zach D. Roberts, the photographer on my team, was right there filming the beating. Thank God he was there because it scared them off. The gunman, looked at Roberts and could have taken out Zach on the spot, but Zach continued shooting anyway, and the gunman decided he didn't want to shoot while being shot by the camera. But here's the horror story. Well, the story is horrible enough. No action was taken until I called FBI agents at their homes and on their cell phones because despite Jeff Beauregard Sessions, saying he was going to make the Charlotte attacks a top priority with his top people, nothing was happening, even though we actually identified through social media the people that nearly beat this school teacher to death and pulled the gun. Now, the Charlottesville police finally reluctantly charged those guys with a crime, with assault. But guess what? A magistrate in Charlottesville also filed an arrest warrant for Deandre Harris, the victim, crawling on the ground. You should see the pictures. Go to gregpalast.com. See this young man bleeding profusely, half conscious, 17 staples in his head. How he survived it, I don't know. And by the way, one of these guys was also did assault Zach with like a Confederate flagpole or something like that, and threw it just past his head. We actually have it on film. So they charged Deandre Harris because the white supremacists claimed, and believe it, ready, that they were acting in self-defense. That this school teacher, with not completely unharmed, attacked them, and in self-defense they hit him with metal rods, brass knuckles, hunks of lumber, and threatened them with a gun.
Well, this this is the South.
That was self-defense.
A, this is the South, and B, essentially, isn't that what white cops have been saying forever? Whenever they decide to take out a black man. Yeah,
it's self-defense. But the difference here is that we have the photos. We have the photos of this young man crawling on the ground trying to get away from this deadly beating, and he gets charged with the same crime they are, as if it were somehow equivalent. Being beaten is somehow
isn't the charge that he had
beaten while black was his crime, I guess.
Yeah, but isn't the charge that the reason that they beat him is because he had initially gone after in some way one of them?
Well, you have to understand, before the attack, our photographer, Zach D. Roberts, was attacked by Dan Borden with a Confederate flagpole. His friend tried to do the same thing to Deandre Harris and his friend. They attacked him, and Deandre tried to whack away this flagpole. Remember, again, they tried to beat our photographer with it.
Right.
So they were going after everyone they didn't like.
So that was Deandre Harris's...
But because it was a black man...
Deandre Harris's crime, his quote assaulting another person, end quote, was trying to defend himself from being beaten with a Confederate flag on a pole.
Yeah, and that was supposedly his provocation, trying to get away with being attacked. And again, we have Zach Roberts actually when when this pole was thrown at him, it whizzes with a metal tip, whizzes just past his head. We have a photo of it whizzing past his head. Zach held his ground and took a picture of this bat as it was coming at him. But,
Wow.
Then they went after Harris and his friend, and then they just, literally beat this guy nearly to death. But the point here is that a magistrate in Charlottesville, a white magistrate, charged this young black teacher with causing, and not only, it wasn't just assault, because that can mean no harm, that he actually caused bodily harm to these armed with guns and brass knuckles white supremacists, that he attacked them and caused them harm.
Amazing.
The same charge that was leveled against them. Actually, the charge should have been much more severe against the white supremacists.
Yeah, they should be attempted murder.
The FBI still has done nothing to get the guy with the 9mm Glock in his hand. That's a real serious business. And by the way, Tom, these really should be federal charges. One of the reasons I had the FBI cell phone numbers of agents to push this thing is I used to work with the FBI and before as an investigative reporter. And I got to tell you, when you cross state lines with the purpose of committing harm in concert with others, that's racketeering, that's a felony crime, and it's a federal crime. Why isn't the FBI making a bust here?
That's a very good question. Greg, we have just 2 minutes until we're going to hit a hard break. Another story that you have been the champion on is Chris Kobach and the Republican Party's efforts to prevent, principally, people of color, older people, and younger people from voting. What's the status of this?
And this week we have some new news, which is that the ACLU was able to obtain the secret memo, one of the secret memos he sent to Donald Trump. Now, understand that Kobach is head of Donald Trump's so-called Elections Integrity Commission, rewriting the laws of the nation. And the courts ordered him to divulge the memos because we have supposedly an open government, the memos he was sending to the president. He sent the memos. I want you to take a look. If you are watching this, this is what he gave us.
Yeah, Greg is waving a page that is a white page with giant black squares on it.
Except for two has been blacked out. That's his concept of open government, Mr. Trump and his minion, Mr. Kobach. But even the lines that were there, about the 4 lines and 4 pages that were visible, were scary enough, Tom. God knows what's in the stuff that's blanked out. But it was to change the Voting Rights Act, to amend it to say, instead of the requirement that states can require you to provide minimum information that you are a citizen and that provide your ID, he wanted to change the law that says that states can demand that you prove your citizenship. Now, you may say, well, yeah, only citizens in America should vote, because how many citizens in America have that proof? It's called a passport. Basically, a passport is almost a white instrument of identity.
It's like 5% of the population has passports.
Yeah, it's minor, and it's rich people. In other words, rich white people, Republicans, as they otherwise call them.
By and large, people who can take European vacations. Yeah.
You can. Yeah.
Greg Palast, investigative journalist, author, filmmaker, the best democracy money can buy. Check it out. It's online. GregPalast.com for everything we've been talking about. Greg, thanks so much for being with us.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Great talking with you. We'll be back.